Hey everyone, this is Patrick from EasyFX Code Trading System, and it's Saturday, the 30th of October, 2021. And this is the weekly technical analysis for the Euro, the cable, and the Aussie dollar for the first week of November. Let's begin with the Euro, where you can see on Friday, yesterday, there was a big drop after a retest of the daily 55 EMA, tested it on at the end of Thursday, but then on Friday it could not break through this barrier, so just above the monthly pivot here, and also below the 117.00. And I think we can discard this one here, the interim target on Thursday. It spiked through because of the ECB hawkish comments, and that was totally negated the following day on the Friday. And I'll show you that it was very late as well. Let's go down to the 4-hour time frame and even the 1-hour time frame, where this was the bullish move after the ECB decisions, where they could consider tapering, and it started to push up higher all the way to test the monthly pivot. But then right from the start of Friday, it started to retrace back and gave everything back by the US session at night. And only in the last 4-hour time frame, second last actually, the from 9 o'clock, it started a big drop from the US session. So this is the start of the US session here at 8 a.m. and continued very bearish move at 10, and then at 11 right to the daily S2 pivot. Going back to 4-hour time frame and the daily time frame. So right back down to this previous area of support that was from 2 to 3 weeks ago now. So it's heading back down, and that's because the US dollar climbed back up, and that was preparing for the non-farm payroll and more importantly, the Federal Reserve meeting, FOMC meeting on the Wednesday. So that's positioning for that move next week. So this is a very bearish engulfing candle here. And for the week, that's the bearish drop on here from the monthly pivot. So there could be further bearish momentum next week, heading into the FOMC meeting, and then on Friday, US non-farm payroll as well. So this is going to be an impact across all the major currencies as well as spot gold, where if the US dollar strengthens, then all these major currencies may weaken. So this is the Euro was the first the central banks to have their decisions last week, and then this coming week is a turn of the Reserve Bank of Australia, and then the Federal Reserve, and then followed by Thursday, the Bank of England. So this is going to be a very volatile week indeed for the dollar, as well as all the major currencies and spot gold, of course. All right, let's go back to this euro here. And this reversal, if we just take a reversal pattern here, you can see that it reversed back to the 138 fib extension, and the 162 was not hit yet. It could very well do that early this week after some pullback, probably to retest this swing low, and that is in confluence with the this level here on this bigger reversal setup, and that's also a 162 fib reversal, and that's just above the 115 level. Right, so that's something to look out for early next week. Let me change this to light. Right here. Okay, so there's the confluence there. And at the 115, just below that, there's also a longer term swing high up here. So that's going to be a strong support area around the 115 plus the confluence of the 162 fib retracement levels, fib extension level, sorry. Right. Let's go back to the daily time frame. So yeah, this area is going to be a strong support area. This is going to be the first initial level support, or this whole band is going to be a strong support zone. Let's add a interim target area. Okay. So yeah, but otherwise, last week was mainly consolidating between this swing low at the 100 fib and the 138 fib extension of this bigger swing move, retracement back down to the 138 fib extension. But then on Thursday, just waiting for the ECB decisions and then swing back down here. Okay, that's the forex movement here. Now let's take a look at the US dollar index, DXY, see how it performed last week, as it was trying to fight through this intermediate resistance. It easily broke through, but then dropped on the Thursday, And on the Friday, it made a strong move back up. So that was a strong move from this support level here. So which was previously, which we marked previously as a intermediate support before hitting this swing higher area. We may not need this later on, we'll see. Now that it's broken back above the 94.00, it's got the recent highs in sight, and just waiting for the FOMC decisions, which they expect the tapering to be announced for November. So that's probably starting to be priced in. And then also the outlook for interest rates for next year. We'll see whether there's any update on that, whether they're going to have a first rate hike towards the end of next year. So the US dollar is starting to position itself. We need to watch out if it does break through. And probably need another fib extension from here. It looks like right, we may be able to use this one here, move it all the way back up, and let's move this one here to this shorter swing move and pull back. You see that's why it hit that support level. That's right at the 50-fib retracement. And if it does break out and break through this swing high, it's going to target the 95.50 area. All right. So watch out for that on the DXY. All right, let's move back to the cable. And this week is the Bank of England's turn on Thursday. And it has been reluctant to dip lower, and until late on Friday as well as with the other pairs. So the support was at the 50 retracement of this swing move back up to hit the 78.6 and then pull back down to the 50-fib area. So you can see a lot of spikes and unable to break out higher. So it did delay the inevitable here to pull back lower. So there could be a bit more room to dip lower before the BOE meeting, as before that the FOMC may trigger some moves, perhaps a dollar strength, and it could drive the other major pairs lower, and there should be support right at 136, and that's the 35th retracement of this move back up. So it could find value at the lower support areas and before striking back up. So we'll see whether it's going to be a bullish and hawkish move and statement from the Bank of England, which they have been highlighting in their interviews for the last couple of weeks, where even the governor is saying that it's time to act, and they may even increase rates before even tapering. So that's going to be interesting if they do increase rates now, and while tapering is only scheduled for the early part of next year to probably a Q2 period of next year. So that that's to counter rising inflation. So that will be interesting. But first, it's got to see what happens with the Federal Reserve and their tapering decisions, and see how the US dollar is driven from that. Okay, let's take a look at the weekly time frame, where last week was a doji, and that was already hinting at potential dip lower as a evening doji star, but it didn't drop very far. So it did try to retest the highs, but failed and was rejected. So there could be a follow through back down to, as I mentioned last week, to perhaps a 136 at most, but could be just down to the weekly 55 EMA. Okay, let's go back to daily time frame and also take a look at the 4-hour time frame, where it also did the same as the euro, where it only started to weaken and fall off right at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock on the Friday morning US time, US Eastern, and then sitting right at the 50-fib retracement here. Okay. Now on the bigger time frame, there's also this, we've got a bigger swing move here, and that's also showing that 50-fib area on the bigger time frame, and just resting just above that. They tried to reach the 50-fib of this shorter swing, then bounce back up slightly. Okay, so it's also going to be exposed to further US news next week with the non-farm payroll report, where the US hopes that can recover from poor data the previous month, as it was quite dismal numbers for the previous report. So expectation is higher this time around, over 400,000 jobs to be added. All right, so this resistance zone is still valid. Support for now is here, and there's further support down below at the this month's pivot. It's going to be updated on Monday, but that was right at the 136 as well. Okay, any further, if it does break out higher, and it's got to retest this swing high area here at the 139. So there is a potential target zone of resistance here. Okay, so this is going to be a bit tricky for the cable and the sterling pairs all around. So you could try to just find value around some of these levels and then try to target higher on Thursday. If it does break through higher, then it could test the 139. All right, so do watch out. Next week is definitely a volatile week. Let's move on to Australia and the Aussie dollar, where it is also the RBA's turn on Tuesday to decide on their rate decision. They may announce that they could pull in the dates. It's probably towards the end of next year where they are likely to increase rates. But if they do decide to pull in rates, then that's quite hawkish, and we'll see when they're going to start tapering as well, whether they'll announce tapering earlier. So also a very critical week for the Aussie dollar next week. This didn't happen, so if it does break out higher, there is major resistance up here at 0.76. This is the only pair that did not pull back lower below the 21 fib retracement. So it continued to climb up throughout the week. Let's take a look at the weekly time frame, and you can see that it closed bullish inside the upper wick of the previous week. Tested the highs, but could not break out. That's just waiting for the RBA this week. So for now, before, if it does retrace lower, it's going to target the 21 fib first before targeting the 38 fib retracement. So let's find this level here, which also aligned with last week's weekly pivot at around the 74.65 area. Okay. So we'll see if it's going to dip lower below 0.75 before it springs back up and breaks through. If it does break through, then watch out for the 0.76 area. But if it's disappointed with whatever decisions, and it could pull back lower to retest the 21 fib area, nothing to worry about. And then perhaps the daily 200 may provide some dynamic support. Okay, but I think overall it's still in a bullish phase. All right, so next week is definitely going to be a volatile week with these major central bank meetings and decisions. And then everyone will be exposed to the non-farm payroll report as well. So which will be a lot of US dollar being driven next week to impact the major currencies. So do be careful. Watch out in your risk management. Okay, so do check out my other videos on spot gold and dollar yen. Have a safe week and a good trading week, and cheers for now.